Hey yo, today we have 3 stories from relationship advice. One is about a young lady who thinks she caused her dad to have a heart attack and the trouble it caused in her family. One is about more bachelorette party debauchery. The final one is about a work friendship that is starting to get a little scary. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's do this. This story is titled, I 20 female caused my dad to have a heart attack and he died. A few years back when I was 15, I got into an argument with my dad for missing curfew. That night I was with a boy and I lost track of time. The argument was about if I was living in his house, I wasn't going to be dating any boys and coming back home on time or I was gone. We were just yelling at each other, it woke the whole house. The next thing I know my dad was sending me to my room and I said, frick you to him. I saw my dad turned red and jumped up madder than I had ever seen him before, clutching his heart, and suddenly fell over. I feel guilty as heck over this now, but I just stared down at him while he twitched on the floor. It wasn't until my mom came out of her room and screamed that I snapped out of it. We called an ambulance and they took him to the hospital. His doctor confirmed that he had a heart attack and he died that night. My mother couldn't stand to look at me after that, so she sent me to live with my grandparents. I'm 20 now, in college, and I haven't heard from any of my family since until yesterday. My older sister sent me a text saying our mother has 3 months to live and she wants to see me and apologize. I spent my whole life blaming myself for my dad's death. As a kid, she always told me nothing I do will make her hate me or love me any less. Then she just gave up on me and shipped me off. Now she wants to apologize. I hate her with every bone in my body. Should I see her? Should I let her die with that guilt of giving her child away? Comment 1. That is an unfortunate, undeserved amount of guilt to put on you as a young girl. You didn't cause his heart attack. Your father's prior health conditions, heredity, and a blood clot caused his heart attack. Nothing you did could have caused it. Your mother has apparently realized this and wants to apologize. I would suggest going to see her because this might be one of the last opportunities you will get to hear it from her and to actually talk with her. Comment 2. You weren't responsible for your father's death. Heart disease killed him. Getting angry at your teenage daughter doesn't cause heart attacks. If it did, every father in the world would die when the daughter was 15. I would be one of them. Your mother was so wrong to blame you. You suffered 2 tragedies. 3, because she made you believe it was your fault. Now, you can decide if you want to see her before she dies. It is really up to you, and you don't have to forgive her. You can just go and hear what she has to say. Or not. Do what feels right. Comment 3. Oh, hon, you didn't cause your dad to have a heart attack and you're not the reason he died. Your family was cruel to blame you for this. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. If you don't have a therapist, you might consider it. You need someone on your team who can help you process everything. Comment 4. You talk about how that night you looked at what was happening and did nothing, and that causes you guilt looking back now. I feel like not seeing your mother would be a similar situation. I don't know if seeing her will make anything better, but I feel like future you would feel more guilt if you didn't. Your college probably has some sort of grief counseling you're already paying for through tuition. Something to check out in any case. Comment 5. Whether you see her or not should be dependent on how you'll feel about it after. If you think you'll be guilty about it, then go. If not, don't. What she did was wrong, and if you don't think she deserves to see you, then that's your prerogative. Just make sure you aren't blinded by emotion when making your decision, and that down the line you'll be comfortable with whatever decision you make. For what it's worth, I don't think you caused his heart attack. If what triggered his heart attack was getting mad, then he was already on the brink of having one anyways. Healthy people don't go into cardiac arrest over an argument. If it wasn't because of this, it could have been him yelling at your mom or sister, getting upset at work, or, worst of all, having a fit of road rage in the car and possibly crashing into someone else. You didn't cause his heart attack. At that point it was probably just a matter of time. It was unfortunate that it happened the way it did, but it's not your fault. This story is titled, Wife, Female 32, is telling me, Male 32, it's normal to get physical with a stripper at a bachelorette party. My wife attended a bachelorette party of one of her college friends last weekend. They did it at her friend's home and had a stripper there. I knew this in advance but was not fussed about it because that seems like a common thing for bachelorette parties. Yesterday, a husband of one of my wife's friends reaches out to me and tells me I should see some pictures. He then sends me about 24 pictures of what went on at the party, and it went a lot further than I thought it would. First of all, the stripper was completely undressed, and his private parts were ready for action. Worst, the pictures show several of the women, all in relationships, touching him, including my wife in 2 of the pictures. In one, she is grabbing him from behind, one hand on his pec and the other holding his item. In the other, she is in the process of getting up from her knees right in front of him. I can't be sure what happened right before the picture was taken, but it does not take a lot of imagination, especially because there are pictures of her friends that are very obvious. When I confronted my wife, she tells me this is absolutely normal and happens at all bachelorette parties. She completely turned it around on me and told me I'm being unreasonable for being mad. I was fuming and we kept arguing until I left and stayed at a friend's place last night. Today my wife's sister called me and told me the same thing, and that I'm being controlling for being mad at her. Now I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is it really normal for things to go that far? Comment 1. This is absolutely not normal and a breach of a trusting relationship. If she thinks it's so normal, go find a stripper, put your Johnson on her and let her grab your junk. Send pictures of it to her and say just having some good clean normal fun. Comment 2. Normal or not, that has no bearing on the boundaries of the relationship between you and her. Also unacceptable that she sicked her sister on you to bully you into submission rather than working it out with you. Maybe her sister went off on her own, but the problem remains that she reached outside of the marriage to figure out the issue. Comment 3. What she did was not okay. This is not normal behavior at all. She is trying to put the blame on you when you didn't even do anything wrong. What is controlling about telling your partner not to stroke some other dude's stick? You have every right to be furious at her. If she likes an open relationship and do this type of stuff, then she should have consulted you beforehand. But it seems you don't like this, so I suggest you leave her and find someone else who is more compatible for you. Comment 4. Naked strippers at a bachelorette party is normal, just as it is for a bachelor party. What your wife did, however, was not. She is a married woman supposedly in a committed, monogamous relationship, and grabbing another man's erect genitals and giving him oral relations is absolutely, positively violating boundaries. And it shows she has absolutely no respect for you. Her sister rushing to her defense just means she did the same thing and doesn't want to admit she violated her own vows and disrespected her husband as well. I would talk to a lawyer right now and at least be prepared if you need to move on from the relationship. I doubt you'll ever look at your wife the same. Comment 5. Dude, this isn't right, and there's too many stories of people going way too far with strippers with bachelorette parties. In your position, I could see myself wanting to know what exactly happened. But I don't think it would make a difference in the end with how I'd proceed if I saw those pictures. Best of luck to you. This story is titled, My 38 female coworker, 30 female, thinks our relationship is way more than it is and I'm starting to panic. I'm on the verge of a panic attack about this situation and I'm going to try incredibly hard to make this coherent. I need help, please. I have a coworker who I met and have been working with for about a year and a half now. She started off nice enough, awkward and earnest, kind of an eager to please sort, and she seemed like she'd be a great addition to the team. I work in marketing and we often try to be close, look out for each other at my job, especially with everything going on now. I invited her out for drinks when she first started, as kind of a welcome to the company sort of thing, and I liked her, thought she was great. We talked often whenever we worked together and even exchanged personal contact information. We went to lunch every so often when we worked together, etc. Nothing out of the ordinary, I feel, for what coworkers would do together. I really don't know where this all went wrong. I don't know how I messed up, I don't know what I could have done differently, but this has become a complete mess and I don't even know how to point to where it started. Slowly she started texting more, wanting to hang out outside of work all the time, always trying to make plans, always wanting to do something with me. I have a partner and a son, 4, and I honestly have no interest in being away from my family on my off hours, so I always said something like I needed to be home. Or gave more detailed reasons why I couldn't join her for her plans, but it kept going, so I started to give more vague, maybe one day, not this week, yeah that sounds great. And then would just never follow up with her. But this started to escalate to where she was messaging me every day and getting upset that I didn't get back to her. I started calling out of work just to avoid being around her. One day I finally had it and told her I needed her to stop messaging me and to stop talking to me for a while. She did, but was very upset about it. It has been a couple of weeks and I figured everything was okay. She was respecting my need for time, but now I'm hearing that she is venting to a lot of coworkers that she doesn't understand why her best friend would do this to her. That we were so close and spent all of our time together, that if she could just talk to me, it could all go back to us being the greatest of friends and other things. One of them thought she was talking about a breakup with a boyfriend and was incredibly unsettled to hear it was about me. One told me that the way this coworker talks, it's clear that me blocking her off is literally consuming her life and that I need to deal with it and talk to her. I don't know what to do, I'm freaking out and on the verge of breaking down. I'm panicking that she's going to snap and call Child Protective Services or start stalking me or try to mess up my life by other means. She knows where I live, she has all of my contact info. What do I do? I know I need to talk with her and be clear that she and I are not close, but I'm worried that's going to cause her to totally lose it and I'm terrified. What can I say to her? How should I handle this? Any help will be incredibly appreciated. Comment 1. Well, you've done nothing wrong at all and she's just got an unhealthy attachment to you. I would contact the HR department about this, don't stress too much about her contacting child services, she's got absolutely no grounds to do that. Comment 2. It's good that you've contacted HR and are being careful about this, but I think talking to her and being as straightforward as possible is the only thing that's going to stop it from getting worse. You seem very worried over talking about it, so let me try framing it this way for you. I really enjoy your company and never intended for a wedge to come between us. The fact of the matter is that you and I have very different lives. You're young and still have a lot of free time on your hands, but I have a family that I need to take care of and spend time with. I appreciate that you want to do things with me outside of work, but that's just not a luxury that I can afford 99% of the time. And the idea of having to constantly say no to you and hurt your feelings made me feel very anxious. Please understand that I don't have the time or energy to be as involved in your life as you want me to be. It helps to approach things in a way that removes any blame but makes it clear that circumstances are not going to change, so she has no choice but to give you your space. Comment 3. Is there some reason you think this might escalate to stalking or calling CPS? Those seem like pretty extreme reactions. Is there some reason you can't sit her down and say, listen, I think we got our wires crossed somewhere? As far as I'm concerned, we are professional colleagues and nothing more. That's how it is, how it's always been, and how it always will be. I've had to do this with people who were crossing some major boundaries in the confounding desperation to be friends with me. It freaking sucked. I don't know if there's a more awkward conversation than having to basically have a friend break up with someone you don't even consider a friend. And I'm sure it was emotionally devastating for them, as evidenced by seeing them on a city bus a year later and them bursting into tears, but hey. You got to do what you got to do. Thank you so very much for listening. Please check out my other videos and like and subscribe.